Square Ball Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the show. wyelectrical.co.uk for West Yorkshire Electrical, sponsors of this show. Michael Normanton's here as well.
Hello.
What's your favourite thing that they do electrically wise?
Probably emergency.
Is it the wires?
Emergency lighting, that's what I like.
Right.
Yeah, because you need that.
You do?
If you've got a business.
Yes. They do school contracting as well. Anything with wires in, they'll basically work with. That's the jam, isn't it? Specialists in renewables, West Yorkshire Electrical, solar panels, battery storage, EV chargers, all your favourite things.
All those things.
The big three. And finance available for work on your home or your business. wyelectrical.co.uk for details. Have a look for West Yorkshire Electrical on your socials. Phil Hay, hello. We are here to preview Peterborough.
Seems like only 2 minutes since we recorded that.
It does, since we were dissecting Birmingham.
Well, this is coming out several days hence, so let's pretend we've changed clothes and we're not just recording again. But yeah, so we are earlier in the week than maybe any press conference or any news that might have emerged. All the signings we've made in the January window, that's open now, Phil.
Yeah.
Any news, Phil?
Yes. Nothing to add since 10 minutes ago.
Should we speculate wildly about who we should buy?
Yeah, go on. Well, why don't we speculate about Craig McHale-Smith since going back to Peterborough? That's the one thing I always think of when I think of Peterborough. It's just that Leeds were linked with him for years and years and years without ever bothering.
George Boyd, big danger
George
man
Boyd,
as well.
yeah.
And actually, one of the questions that we did at the live show, the Christmas live show, pertained to Chris Taylor at Oldham. He was always linked, wasn't he?
That's right. That's right.
Because he scored in the opening. It was the opening home game of the 2008-9 season, I'm going to say.
Yes, that's correct. And Darren Ferguson in charge at Peterborough, which means this could be any year,
so we
really,
could have recorded
2000 and 2050.
Any time in the last 2 decades.
Yeah.
I quite like Darren McAntony, who's is the chairman, the owner at Peterborough. I quite like him, but he seems to be a little bit hung up on Darren Ferguson. We say football lacks new ideas.
Certainly his go-to manager, you would say. Yeah.
How do Leeds United approach this, do you think? A bit of rotation. Do you think we'll see a similar-ish side to the one that featured against Birmingham?
Well, what was quite interesting in the League Cup was that Farke didn't seem inclined to weaken his team significantly at all in either of those games, despite the fact that he was down on numbers and waiting for players to come in, and it was all pretty fraught in August. But I wonder if it'll be slightly different this time, partly because there are players who'll be dying to get a game in his squad, and also because as you start to move into January, February time, the league just takes precedence in such a big way. I mean, he was talking
Certainly
about...
does at Leeds.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, are we getting a cup run this year?
What, for every year since, 1973 onwards?
Yeah. Still one of my favourite athletic headlines was Leeds in the FA Cup. Why do they hate each other? Yeah, which they do. Yeah, so Farke was talking about Stroik after the Birmingham game and saying he wasn't fit enough today to play. Monday to play. And he... was going for scans at some point this week, but would most likely not be risked, I don't think, against Peterborough. He's expecting to have him back for the next league game. But I think that was quite telling, the fact that you're not going to gamble in the third round. And you know how it is down in the Championship. It's not that anybody likes to lose cup games, and when you do get beat, and Leeds have had some shocking results at some shocking places, there is a lot of grumbling, but everybody knows what the bread and butter is. And this tie kind of applies.
Let's have a game of pick the team.
No, why not? Yeah.
Because that's the real singular talking point out of this, isn't it? Is what do you do? So I've started at the front and I'm working backwards here.
Well, you should probably start from the back, because the choice of goalkeeper is pretty interesting here. Not because Millier won't be back after it, and obviously you'd expect him to go back in as number one. But with Darlow in this dislocated thumb, we're yet to find out how severe it is. If he's missing for any length of time, then how much of a risk do you want to take with Klaassen? But I would assume that it will have to be Klaassen down at Peterborough.
Surely
otherwise,
it's not beyond our wit to get a goalkeeper through 90 minutes.
You would think, wouldn't you? But then Darlow comes in for his first league start and in fact doesn't even make it to his first league start without dislocating his thumb. Plays anyway, but you know how it goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, go from the front if you'd rather go from the front.
Just because I've started writing down Bamford. I think Bamford keeps his place and leads the line probably down there.
Is probably a pretty good shout, yeah.
I would do that as well.
Yeah.
Because it then, I guess, gives you the option to rotate Piru back in for Cardiff the week after if you want to, if you're minded to do
Quite
that.
a big decision, that, though.
It is, isn't it?
I think.
After a goal against Birmingham.
Not just a goal as well. I think he played well.
Yeah.
You know.
So you have Bamford leading the line. Anthony, Somerville, Nonto is my three.
Anthony and Nonto, certainly.
Or does Jorginho play instead of Somerville, maybe?
There's part of me thinks if Gelhardt isn't playing in this game, then when's he ever playing? But seems a bit risky with Somerville. That's 12 goals for him now. He's been the best player, give or take, this year.
So it's either Somerville or Jorginho I've got in there.
That's Pervader as well. He came off the bench today,
that's
didn't he?
True, yeah.
That's true.
If you want someone to create, and he seems to give the ball away quite a bit against Birmingham, didn't he, when he came on? But Farke obviously quite likes him as that person who can make things happen in little...
There's a bit of chaos, in him, isn't there?
Yeah.
So maybe he gets thrown in there as a number 10 option.
Yeah, and then midfield, presumably Gruev plays instead of one of the two.
You would imagine... you wonder if Gray might get a game.
Gruev and Gray,
as well.
maybe.
Finally. I mean, he did substitute Ampadu at Preston, didn't he? But
give him a minute off. How much more rest do you need?
But it says to Ampadu, you can have a breather. Yeah, would make sense. And probably with Kamara.
Gruev and Gray, maybe?
Yeah, because with Kamara as well, he talks quite a lot, doesn't he, Farke, about the fact that Kamara didn't really have any pre-season with Rangers, wasn't really on the scene up there before he came to Leeds, because it always looked like he was leaving, so has kind of been conscious of that, to judge by his comments. So yeah, it seems like a reasonable shout.
So what about your back four then? Are we saying Spence at right back?
You would think, yes.
And then
I think it's going to have to be Firpo at left back, probably. Yeah. Cooper. Does he give Creswell a game? Creswell's situation is quite interesting, actually.
There seems to be quite a bit of speculation today that he's on his way.
Well, there's loads of interest in him, as you'd expect. Both he and Gelhardt have basically been told over the last few weeks that they'll be staying, that they're needed. And Farke was saying today, we don't want, Creswell is not a player who we would want to go. But he did caveat that by saying you've got to consider the wishes of the player as well. And Creswell is definitely not happy with, lack of minutes, which is basically complete at the moment. He's just not getting a look in at all. He wasn't on the bench against Birmingham. Farke was saying he wanted a bit more creativity with Poveda as a different option. And I think we were chatting about this a couple of podcasts ago, and I said that I was quite interested to see whether the position on Creswell holds, given that he will want to be playing. And it's one thing saying we need you to stay, but if you're not even getting into the match day squad, then you very quickly, I think, reach the mindset of thinking, well, actually, why do you need me to stay? I'm not really around.
But then it does pose the question of what do you do in that position if he's not there as an option?
Yes.
It creates a problem as well as solves one for him.
It does, and you're effectively trying to find somebody else. Unless you're promoting from the academy, you're effectively trying to find somebody else who will accept you saying to them, look, you're probably not going to play either. But, come and join us if you want.
I suppose unless you accept that Ampadu dropped back and you then have to trust Gruev or Gray to be the midfield option.
I think that compromises your midfield too much, especially because of how much Ampadu's played there. It would seem risky to be, having to dive into games where you say, right, okay, you're switching to centre back now. Doesn't seem like a good idea. Surely
the new left back plays.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, it's going to be a big debut, isn't it? For Josh Doig.
I wondered when you were going to ask about him. Yeah,
Russell's lad,
very good player. Him who went from Hearts actually when he was in their academy to Hibs, and yes,
turncoat bastard.
Well, and you said that.
Hey, did you enjoy? Just on this, did you enjoy Hearts' injury time winner at
very much so
at Hibs the other day?
Very
what
much so.
Recreate that moment for us. What did you do?
Well, I was sitting in injury time, thinking this is the worst game I've ever seen, and I'd quite like me £12 back, please, Sky. Only for the mighty Shanks to stick that in the top corner, and for the away end to go off in the way it did. I know Scottish football's like a total backwater and everything else, but it really matters, that game. To the people who are invested in it, it really, really matters.
Bless you.
So it was wonderful. It was the highlight of Christmas.
Josh Doig, anyway, we were talking about. Sorry.
Yes. So he's at Hellas Verona over in Italy. He's a really, really good player, actually. A really good player. I don't think we'd be that cheap by Championship standards. Plenty of interest in him. But hedge your bets. Debut at Peterborough.
Could be the one, couldn't it? Could be the one. Then he gets a month-long injury. And Michael,
let's hope.
We come on in next week, and Michael's like, sign a fucking left back.
Just get a few.
Just stockpile as many as we can possibly find.
It's so strange football, though, isn't it? Where you go from Darlow basically kicking his heels, doing nothing, to suddenly classing in goal on New Year's Day, and you almost can't believe that that's happened in such a ridiculously short period of time. But that's the game.
Football it is farcical in that regard, isn't it? Like, it is a stupid thing. We get so het up about it.
Yeah, because somebody said to me on Twitter today, well, the squad looks really strong now, doesn't it? And I was like, well, yeah, but that's because one keeper's banned and the other's dislocated his thumb. And that,
Kiko on loan?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
What represents a good outcome from this Peterborough game, do you think, for Leeds, besides the obvious, which is progression? Are we bothered about a cup run this year?
Part of me is desperate for them to go through simply to see if we can keep this run of away ties going.
Almost
will
certainly,
it be 14? My dad was a mathematician. He worked it out. I think other people worked it out as well, but it was about 9,000 to 1 odds.
Right.
And that's quite impressive.
And yet the draw, technically, it's supposed to be a 50-50 shot every time, isn't it? Doesn't feel like it. So we need to get out of it scot-free, no injuries, no suspensions.
Yeah.
And
it'd be nice to see.
Let's just not disgrace ourselves. Why don't we go there and do what a lot of teams do against lower division opposition, which is to just take the game by the scruff of the neck, control possession,
win it
comfortably, and get back home.
Because they're pretty good, them Peterborough. They're having a really good season. For all that we were joking about Ferguson, they're right in the running for automatic promotion, and clearly have a style that suits them and that they're pretty comfortable with. So it's quite a difficult. Considering what you could get in round 3, it's quite a difficult time.
It is, but do you know what? It could be more of a distraction, not more of a distraction, but an equal sized distraction for them as they're trying to get into the autos, because they're not in a dissimilar position to us, albeit they're closer to Bolton in second. So Bolton, just to fill you in, if you're not aware, Bolton are 2 points ahead of them, but they've played a game fewer of Bolton. So Peterborough could be sort of 4 points adrift, 5 points adrift by the end of that. But it's within touching distance, isn't it? And they're going to want to try and get into those autos the same as we're trying to do. So, it's not like they're just having a big day out. They've got more pressing matters, arguably.
All the trains are cancelled as well, aren't there? There's a train strike at the weekend.
Is there?
Yeah. There is, amazingly, some issue with the rail network. Yeah. You wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, and it's a really obvious train journey to do, isn't it? It's Peterborough.
Yeah, it should be the easiest train journey going, but no.
Yeah. What do you feel? What do you feel for this one?
You have to win these games because it never helps you to lose them. Really, I don't think.
Because it can take the wind out of your sails, can't it?
It can, and also it's a bit embarrassing. And has any good ever come of getting done at Crawley or Newport or Histon or Sutton United? Any of this stuff? It hasn't really.
No.
It just creates angst and it gets people annoyed and frustrated, because Leeds should have the beating of Peterborough if they go there and play well. But it's a different game for Farke to manage, because Peterborough will have the tails up in a way that not that many sides, particularly who come to Ellen Road, tend to at the moment. So they'll have to contend with that.
What are you feeling, Michael? Then win?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
That was that yes with a question mark.
The least convincing win. Yes. Ever.
Yeah.
Does it feel to you like a bit of an unwelcome distraction? Again, the timing of it.
Yeah. Although I think it's an opportunity to let maybe Anthony or Nonto or Spence, like someone who's a bit out of form and in and out of the team, it'd be nice for one of them to have a bit of a statement performance and give you a bit of faith in them for future league matches, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one that really you just want it to be out of the way and to have won 2-0. Yeah. And you can go on and you can lose, respectably away at Crystal Palace in round 4. That sort of a vibe is what I'm after.
Oh dear me. Yeah, first game for McKenna in charge of Palace there, potentially.
He doesn't, I mean, I'm going to tempt fate here. He doesn't strike me, McKenna, as the sort of person who would bail out of a job like that mid-season and leave Ipswich at the lurch, but we'll see. Mind you, a good result for Palace, wasn't it?
Oh, well, we all know about the bright lights of the Premier League and how it can turn people's heads. So
yes.
Yeah, you absolutely never know. All right, and so
I've actually got up here the team last time we played Peterborough.
Oh, go on.
It was a 1-1 draw. Sam Byram scored for us.
So which year would this have been? Should we try and guess it?
Is that 2012, 11?
2013. All right. 12th of March 2013. Dwight Gale scored for them. Should sign him.
Yeah.
Should sign Dwight Gale. Is he a good option in the January window?
Good poacher. Yeah. Him and Mikhail Smith.
We could
change the front line.
Get Niall Ranger as well.
Yeah, good idea, yeah. But the team is absolutely tragic that we had out that day for them. No, with no offence to Sam Byram, but Paddy Kenny, Tom Lees, Lee Peltier, Stephen Warnock, that's the defence. Then the midfield is spectacular. It's Paul Green, David Norris, Michael Tong, Luke Varney, with the strike partnership of McCormack and Morrison up front.
Right.
Those were the days. Yeah.
I saw Ross McCormack just before Christmas, but that's a story for another day. All right then. Are we going for an away win?
Yeah, come on, let's.
Comfortable or uncomfortable?
Probably slightly uncomfortable, but a win nonetheless.
The Leeds United way. All right, well, we'll see. We'll reconvene then after the weekend and we'll have a chat about it, you and I then, Phil, on... It feels like a long way away because we're recording this straight after Birmingham, but Monday?
Yeah, let's do it.
Good stuff, right. We'll catch up with you then.
The Square Ball Podcast.